Definitely had some growing pains. There was ups and downs. I took him over to Milburn Salad House, and he was there, and he just learned every component of the business. He got it. He understood the balance of taking care of the customers, taking care of being a good team member, and kind of learning from me and some of the things that I did. And we made mistakes, but at the same time, he believed in the vision from day one. He believed when I said to him, I said, Jared, this is the future of fast casual. This healthier eating is going to be something special.
Joey, welcome to Staying Hungry. Joey Cioffi here from Salad House. Thank you for making the trip from New Jersey today.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
Appreciate it. Yeah. For those that don't know, and maybe we'll back up to kind of how it started before Salad House. I know prior to talking, your parents are immigrants from Italy, right? Yeah. And they were in the food space. So maybe you could talk a little bit about your younger days of where we think, it started in the family deli, right?
Yeah. Well, I always go back, and I'd like to always pay homage to their journey. I mean, they were 11 days at sea. They were on a boat, 18 years old, 1957. They just got married. And they wanted, chase the American dream. They were like, we're going to go to America. The streets are paved in gold. And they landed in Newark. And
came through Ellis Island?
No, it was through Newark. And
okay.
And they, when they went to Newark, the streets weren't paved in gold. And they were like, holy shit, what do we do? Like, where do we come from? I mean, it's like, where are we right now? And they had no idea which way they were going to do, what they were going to do, like how they were going to, go after the American dream. They went there and started working in a factory, and it did not seem very good. Like, they thought they were second guessing their decision to come out here. And my father had a friend that knew somebody who was like a fellow paisan. It was like, had a pizzeria. And he said, he goes, Tony, why don't you come here on the weekends, come help me out a little bit. I'll teach you how to make pizza, teach you how to get into learn the food business a little bit. So my father started working there. First, it was like for free, just to get some free food. And then the guy at the end of the week would give him like $20, $25. And the next thing you know, my dad's like, dude, I'm making $20 to $25 the entire week, working 6 days a week, in this factory, with no windows, my mother and him. And they were like, holy, there's something to this food business. So the guy was kind of at the end of his, he was kind of at the end of his rope. He was just like, you know what, I'm pretty much done with the food business. And he said, Tony, would you like to, maybe I'll hold the note, buy the building and the business and take over. So my dad was excited. He felt as though this was a good spot for him. Unless we're Italian, food, show food, love, and that's how we express ourselves. So he's like, let's do it. And what was awesome about it was that he kept the ovens on 24 hours a day, and he ran a telephone wire. They lived upstairs from the pizzeria, and he would keep the oven on 24 hours, leave the telephone wire up to the apartment, and he was open 24 hours a day, which was really at 2 a.m. if you were hungry and you want a pizza, you were drunk, and you call Tony's, he'll get the phone call, come downstairs, make the pizza, deliver it. And that's how bad and that's how hungry he was to really prove to his family that his choice, him and my mother's choice to come over was the right choice. And they really were, they really wanted to achieve the American dream. That's kind of how we started into the food business.
Okay. Where was the location?
That was in Newark. It was in Newark. And coincidentally in Down Neck, Newark, Tony's Pizza, he's Tony. It's still there, Tony's Pizza. I mean, he sold it. It's been sold multiple times, but it's pretty cool to see. Yeah, it's pretty cool to see his name.
Does your family still own the building?
No, he got rid of it.
Property and the business.
Yeah. Oh, the journey didn't stop. I mean, that was just the beginning of the journey for him and my mother. They were there. They were successful, and then they wanted to kind of migrate, a little bit more west. So they bought. They started a business called Cioffi's in Union, New Jersey, and it was like a pizzeria, similar sort of thing. At first, it was a smaller shop next to a movie theater, and they ended up buying a bigger building. They were successful. 5-cent slices. My dad always said it was like crazy to even think like 5 cents for a slice of pizza.
Yeah, it's a couple dollars.
Yeah. And they
fortune.
Need a loan for a pie.
Exactly. And they went and they bought another building. They made it more of like a restaurant, like a full service restaurant. That was great, but at the same time, he was partners with my uncle, and my dad was like, I was young, and he was just, you know what, like I don't want to be in this restaurant 7 days a
What
week.
year was that? Roughly 70s?
70, late 70s. Yeah, 77, you know, in that time. And he was just like, you know, I kind of wanted more of like a quick serve. Like he was quick serve before quick serve was actually, and he wanted people to just come in and out, like as opposed to like people sitting down, having dinner and you know, spending a lot of time. So
He was ahead of his time.
yeah, he was. It was pretty cool. So he bought a building in Springfield, New Jersey, in 1981. It was boarded up. You know, everybody was like, "What are you doing? It's crazy." It looked like, you know, it was like all boarded up, this building. And my brother, who was 14 years older than me, like he was, I think he was like 17, 18 at the time, and he was just like, he was crying when he went there. He was like, "What are we doing? We have this beautiful restaurant. We're going to this place." Like, but my dad had the, you know, the foresight and he had the vision to create like a luncheonette, like a deli luncheonette. Well, first started off as a luncheonette, then we expanded into like, you know, hot food. And I mean, first it was like a deli, Italian deli, my mother and father running the show, my brother and my sister. And they ended up doing hot food, and then they put pizza in it, and it became like more of like a one-stop shop, which was really, you know, pizza, hot food, deli, you know, but in and out.
Also called Cioffi's?
It was Cioffi's, yeah, Cioffi's in Springfield, yeah. So I was always around the business, you know, clearly being in the restaurant business, you know, it's like every day, you know, you don't see your father, he's always working. So I'd go there. I was a little chubby kid, and, you know, my first jobs were picking up cigarette butts and gum in the parking lot. Like that was like, and making sure nobody stole. Like I was like the robbers. I was like sit by the door, and like I'd be watching people thinking that I had some sort of a job that was important. And at 12, I always joke that it's either the mistake or the greatest move I ever made in my life. Was I was like, you know, let me show my father that I could get behind the counter, ring people up, answer the phones, take orders, you know. So I started going after school. I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna show him. I'm gonna go there every day. After school, we'll go there. Next thing you know, about a week or two later, I'm looking around. I'm like, where's the cashier? I go, Rita. He goes, we don't need to read no more. We got you. I'm like, got me. What are we talking about?
You're free.
I'm like, what's
You sure about that?
I'm like, what? So now after school, it was like every day, I'm like, oh my God, summers were not summers anymore. It was just like, all right, as soon as like school, kids were excited for the end of the, you know, and I'm like, fuck, I'm like, I gotta go. Like, now I gotta go to work. You know, it's like kids are going to camp, going to Great Adventure, going to all these places. And I'm like, you know, working. But in hindsight, I always say, and I try and, you know, explain it to my kids and stuff, like I got an education there that was
priceless.
just, it was priceless. It was really, you know, from every component of the business, you know, from the food quality to customer service, hospitality, the different personalities that you have in, you know, the staff that, you know, always button heads and like trying to navigate through that. And, you know, there were so many different things. And then, and also my personality, like I was like I said, I was like a chubby kid with my mom always feeding me, you know, I was like a chubby, you know, every day after school, like I'd have a chicken parm and a soda, you know, and chips, you know, waiting for me. That was like a snack.
How do you not work in a pizzeria?
It was like a warm up for dinner, right?
I was like a warm up for dinner. So I was like this chubby kid. So I was like a little shy, you know, but it made you front facing and have to speak to people and speak to all walks of life, not just like, you know, like from educated people to, you know, to people that are like super blue collar. And, you know, so it really gave me a nice, you know, like, you know, it was just a great balance of being able to talk to anybody. And I always say that like it really helped mold me who I am.
And your parents came from where in Italy?
It's Maddaloni. It's right outside of, it's in the region of Caserta, like right outside of Naples. So it's about 25, 30 minutes away from Naples.
Mm-hmm. Both parents?
Both parents, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
nice.
Same village, same little Napolitano. Yeah.
That's awesome. So you got an education behind the counter there.
Mm-hmm. And
did you eventually take over the family business? Or?
Well, I didn't want to be in the business. I think we spoke about like, you know, being in the family business. So, you know, in the mid to late 90s, you know, Wall Street was just booming. And, you know, and I was just like, all right, I was pretty good at football. I played college football at Monmouth University. It was like I studied finance, and I was like, all right, I'm going to get a job on Wall Street. Everybody's making money in finance. So that was my, you know, I was like, all right, I'm going to break free. I'm going to get a college education.
I don't have to work at cash register.
Now I'll just pay for chicken pies.
I'm just going to pay for chicken pies. Just get a, you know, put on a suit, go to New York. So I, you know, after I graduated, I got a job at Merrill Lynch, worked there, and I got my Series 7. and I didn't love it. I really, there was a lot of it that I didn't love. I thought I loved the suit every day. Didn't love the suit every day. Didn't love the, I had this guy, Jim Pors, who was like the VP. Like he was just like a really strict, and he was just like, shave, you got to shave every day. It was just like, I used to have my brother and father being my only kind of like the boss of, what I mean? It's like, this guy's telling me what to do, where, what time I got to be here, stuff like that. And I remember, the kind of, I was, kind of a manager, being a boss at a young age. So I was like, that was, a little unsettling for me. But at the same time, I was like, you know what, this is, I got my education. I got to use my education. 9/11, I was leaving Merrill Lynch, and I was supposed to take a job in the city. And the guy wanted to have a meeting at the World Financial Center at the cafe. And he said, you want to come in really early, or you want to come in like a little bit later? I was like, in my early 20s. I didn't want to wake up that early to go to the city. So I was like, I'll come in a little bit later, and we'll sit down, we'll go over the contract and figure out, the next steps. Well, what happened.
This is on 9/11.
Yeah, on 9/11. Yeah. So at that point, I was just like, you know what, man, this is not for me. I don't want to go into the city. Who knows what's going to happen in Wall Street? I can't control that. It was just like, I'm like, let me just kind of pivot back. My brother is 14 years older than me. He's like a second father to me. I love him dearly. I'm like, you know what? Let me just get in business with him. My father was like, kind of wanted to, start going to Florida, be a snowbird. He paid his dues. He wanted to get out. Sure. So I was like, you know what? Let me just align with my brother, help him out, maybe modernize the business, POS system, like having like fresh new eyes on the business.
So we still had the same business.
Same business.
Your brother was at the helm.
Yes, he was at the helm.
Primarily.
Yeah. So then him and I, we struck a great, partnership. And, we just enhanced the catering business. We enhanced the business, and it was just, it was just a good, keeping the family business intact.
How many employees were there?
8 to 10 or so.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but that was, kind of at that point, I was like, all right, let me just, pivot. I felt bad because I had the education, but at the same time, this is where I felt, I really love the food business. So
did your parents really want you to, further the what you went to school for, quote unquote?
My father always says you can never take away the education. You know what I mean? So he didn't care. Like, you know what, he wanted me to be happy, and and being closer to home, and it was unsettling.
And obviously the world changed.
Yeah, the world changed that day, and it was just, we're a very close family, like close Italian family. That was just like, come back and it's fine. You know what I mean? Just, it relieved him of like the headaches, because, we're that old school mentality where it's like only a few keys. We're the only ones that open. We're the only ones that close. Still to this day.
Was it open on Sundays?
No, we were actually closed on Sundays. We closed on Sundays. We were before Chick-fil-A.
Italian families in particular get together on Sundays.
That's why.
So.
Yeah, that was the day.
Very nice.
And so many
One day
people,
off.
and so many people were like, "You should stay open." Oh my God, how much money you can make? Da, da, da. And my father always, he was dead set on it. He's like, "No, this is the day." Family, and that was
nice to hear.
You went from having the phone wire going up to
the
fire escape.
I know.
Cut it in half.
Exactly. Yeah. So
that's awesome.
Yeah,
So your brother is still in business today?
Yeah. Still, yeah.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Is he part of Salad House?
He's not, but he has a franchise of his own.
Okay, so he is part.
He's
in his
part
own right.
franchise.
So how and when did the idea? And well, I know when in 2011. But when did the thoughts start to spur that what was going to be next for you?
So, with the family business, you always saw that there was always a ceiling. I just never thought that, we could enhance the business, but at the same time, it was, it was kind of, and I wanted to create something on my own, plant my own flag. And my wife would always be in my ear. That there was never there's no chopped salad places in the suburbs. It was always New York City on every street corner, customizable, create your own salad. And she's very mindful, what she puts in her body. And so I was at a traffic light, in 2010, and it was coming home from work. It's like 9:30 at night. And I saw a vacant spot in Millburn, New Jersey. It was a former restaurant. And I was like, light bulb went off. I go, that's the spot. I'm going to create something that has that in mind. But self-admittingly, I wasn't a salad. I'm not a salad. Now I'm becoming a salad eater. I wasn't a salad eater.
Chicken parms every day. I get the salad.
So So I went home, pad to paper, old school. I drew up a business plan, some funny names that we was joke around, like the Tuscan Garden, because I was afraid to step away. So, far away from the Italian side of it. But I wrote up a business plan, but I made it a little bit more geared to the suburbs because I saw my family. I wanted to be a solution for families like myself. Where, you got the wife that wants like a healthy chop, create your own salad. You got kids that are very picky that they, chicken fingers, pizza, that sort of thing. Yeah. And then you got a husband that depending on the weekend, if I eat
everyone's.
Yeah. If I eat like shit on the weekend, I'm going to start a diet on Monday, but by Wednesday I'm done. Diet's over.
Right.
And, getting that chicken parm again. So I wanted to create a menu that was a little bit more, it was broader, and it wasn't just for that one section of a person, that one customer base that is eating healthy all the time. So created a menu that had fries, had like a crispy shrimp sandwich, crispy chicken sandwich, stuff for your kids, chicken fingers and fries, flatbread pizza, and when
checked all the boxes.
Yeah, I checked all the boxes. I wanted to eliminate the veto vote in the household because I don't, if you have kids and and it's just, you never win.
What do you want for dinner? Whatever you want.
Yeah.
Is the menu today what it was then? Some variation or pretty
it's
close?
Variation. So obviously every business evolves, and when it was successful in 2011, it was great. The community, I was definitely excited because we felt like we had something there. Opened up a second location in 2015 in Morristown, New Jersey. It was about a half hour away, and at that point I knew it was definitely, it had legs, because I realized at that point it wasn't just satisfying your home family, but you're also your work family, because your work family, you got everybody in that, everyone's picky, you know what I mean? It's like, oh, what are you in the mood for? Oh, chop salad. What are you in the mood for? So now all of a sudden you're eliminating the veto vote, and we're getting, office orders and people to come in for lunch. So I realized at that point it was definitely something special. But, I, at the same time, listen, one person can't do it all. Luckily, I had a customer that used to come in the deli, Joey Cioffi. Mm-hmm. He came in the deli. He worked at a hedge fund locally. Him and his group would always come religiously, like 3-4 times a week, come to the Cioffi's and have lunch. Now, Jerry, unfortunately, had a paddleboard accident. He hurt his shoulder. And he's like, Joey, where's that salad place you opened up? I said, it's in Millburn, 343 Millburn Avenue. I started going there. He calls me up. He's like, dude, this is unbelievable. Not only is it healthy, it's delicious, it's filling. He goes, dude, if you ever want to do something, my brother Chaz wants to, kind of pivot from his career. I'm kind of done with this hedge fund and traveling and doing what I'm doing. Like, if you ever want to do something, let me know. So I at the time it was just me and my right-hand man, Jared Bravo, who was my GM, like both locations. I was like, you know what? I go, Jared, let's do it. I want to franchise it. I started the process of franchising, and I brought him in. He was a finance guy, and it was the perfect fit because it was like the yin and the yang. It's like I knew the creative and the business side of it, hospitality, what people love, make people smile through the stomach is something that we constantly say. It's like I knew that component of it, but when it came to like cost of goods and a lot of the finances and just streamlining the menu, like I didn't think of all that stuff. At the end of the week, if I had more money, my bank account than I did in the beginning, it was a successful week.
Right.
You know what I mean? So Jerry brought on another change of career person, Tim Banos. The four of us, it was like, it's funny. We look back and we see some pictures of us like in this little office that we had, one of our first offices, and it looked like like the Bill Gates, like when they're we're literally boxes and just chairs sitting around, drawing up, and it was tough because we stripped the menu down to answer your question. We stripped the menu down like 30%. Like it was just like there was too much of like we wanted to eliminate single SKUs, like things that were just
food waste.
Yeah, and it was just like we only use this, you know what I mean? And Tim is a baseball guy, so he's like data driven. So he's like, listen, this is not selling. Like crispy calamari salad was fucking banging. It was one of the best salads. Like I loved it myself personally, but it was only me and like a few other people that really enjoyed it. So we really started to it was like a lot of decisions based on data to eliminate the menu and figure out exactly what what sells, what is profitable, getting cost of goods and the labor numbers in order. So it was tough, at that point of Salad House.
Yeah.
But ultimately it needed to happen. And it was just, and we are a very fluid team that we were, I'm not I'm a team guy. Like I come from sports, I kind of relate everything to sports. I always, I say that football helped mold me because I truly believe football is gives you, kind of a preparation of life. What I mean, like a lot of sports do, but football in particular is a very, very difficult sport. I mean, where you're busting your ass and you only have X amount of games, like 8 days, so it's like, so like I'm very team first, and that's the way that we all approached it. So there was no egos. It was just like, what's going to make Salad House better? And that's what made Salad House better.
That's what I was going to say, that you essentially had to put your ego aside, not implying that you had one, but it was your baby. And now you're saying, hey, we're going to strip it down a little bit, but you're like, let's do what makes sense. And fast forward 17 locations today?
We have 20 locations.
20 locations.
Yeah, and we have another about I think 14 or 15 that are sold but not open.
Okay.
So we're expanding.
And the same model of like suburbia versus city is what you try to go for still?
It's interesting. We have different locations and different types of suburbia, so to speak. But we do have one in Brooklyn, in Sheepshead Bay. And then we, like my Morristown location is a very, metro, like urban, I don't know the correct terminology, but, in Newark, New Jersey, we have one that's there. So each store is a little different, in a different placement, but at the same time, it works. Like I said, like whether it's in suburbia or whether it's in, an area where a lot of offices are ordering. Catering is phenomenal. I mean, so catering, has been, is something that we're really at the beginning of our potential with that.
Well, it's interesting that I guess what's different is that salad is like really like the main draw, right? But you have all these other ancillary where it's usually the reverse, right? Like you come from the pizzeria world where it was the chicken parms, but you could get a Caesar salad, you could get a house salad. So it's like you almost converted that mentality of saying, let's go salad centric, but we do have all like the ancillary products around it.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because, we're like I said, we're data driven and we're so advanced in our tech stack. Shout out to Jared Bravo, Director of Ops, one of my partners, that he is so on top of this stuff. And we recently brought on a CMO, this Rev, that has really brought on some really awesome technology and that we're able to really see, and like a lot of like this granular, like, and we've noticed when we first opened, to what you said, people come in for the salad. They come in for the salad and they're like, oh, you have a chicken pastina soup, which is my mom's recipe. We're gonna rename it soon. But then they tack on the chicken pastina soup or the cauliflower bites. Our cauliflower bites are delicious. You know what I mean? So it's like you're getting that. Now the ticket average went from like 17, 18 when it first opened to now to like where we stand across the board is about $25 a ticket. Wow. Which is very strong in our space.
Fast casual, yeah.
But it's because of what you said. Like, they're like, oh, I'm gonna go there for salad, and then all of a sudden like, wait, I get buffalo poppers.
Yeah.
You're like, I'm gonna have
like holy shit, like I'm gonna
when
get
I'm on
fries.
the diet on a Monday, I'm gonna have a salad, but then when I'm off it by Wednesday, I'm gonna go get those other items.
Yeah. And the frequency of customers was just great. And that goes back to my father and my brother as well, because it was always like my dad. I go back to a story which was great. When I was young, like before I really took my 12-year-old full time job, with like bad customers at times, and I was young, and I'd always say, "Thank you, come again." And my father stopped me, like, he heard me say it a couple times. He goes, "You see what you say? That's what it is. You gotta come back again and again and again. That's what it." He goes, "Jerry," and then he starts saying, "You see my son? He understands. You gotta come back." And that's the truth, man. You gotta get people and having them come back multiple times a week. All of our offerings has people come back multiple times a week. I mean, our repeat customers is another super strength that we have. That is just like, you could have Salad House 3-4 times a week and like have something different and really, which is really makes our business really strong.
It's comfort, right? Like even today, like I order lunch and it's like let me just go back to the place that I'm the most comfortable with, and it's just easy. I know it's going to be the same quality over and over again because, like you said, it's, everyone's busy. I think Mike and I talk about it all the time, and we spoke about it with prior guests. At night now with kids, with sports activities, all the things that we have to do, that our parents didn't do.
Never.
Feeding them and feeding ourselves is such it gets pushed aside. So I think, how have you seen like that as part of the business? Do you feel like a lot of families are turning to because of it's fast casual, but it's also, somewhat healthy, and they're not just going right to like the fast food options?
Yeah, you know what? What we do is we're able to, I always look at it as time has gone on where we're a little bit more educated within our body. I mean, when we were younger, it wasn't really much of like, it was just whatever. Now it's like, you know what you're putting in your body, and healthy you're eating, and you're kind of self-aware of like your appearance too. I mean, because you're constantly in pictures, whether it's social media and stuff like that. So like, back in the day, you could run away from a mirror or wait for a photo to get developed. It takes like 2-3 weeks. Now it's like, oh shit, look at a little, my double chin. I got something going. Like I gotta watch it. But not only that, but even the kids are a little bit more aware of it. And in our offerings, help kids transition from those chicken fingers to eating a little healthier. So, just give my kids as an example, because my family is family one, of Salad House. My daughters would see my wife make a create your own salad, and and all of a sudden, like, they would have the chicken fingers, whatever, the kids' offerings were. And then they would see that they're like, oh wait, I could have egg whites and carrots and chicken, crispy chicken, maybe some ranch dressing. Like, oh, okay, I want to create my own salad. And we used to have a pen and paper. We used to have these little golf cart pencils and a little pen. You could fill out your salad card, and they would be like, okay, I like this, I like that. Now they're getting their veggies, they're getting full, and they're getting the things that they like. Yeah. And that transitioned them. So now next time they went to Salad House, like, I want to create my own salad. So now they're creating their own salad, and they're getting the salads, the food. And I mean, they're getting a little bit, they're better nutrition, obviously, than a chicken fingers or something. So yeah, I feel like we really are, we're such a great option for the modern family, so to speak, like where we're able to offer, again, the stuff that the kids like, but also transition them into eating healthier, which is very important nowadays, especially with, like you said, sports and athletics. We're big, we call it Fueled by Salad House, where we fuel, we're trying to fuel the next generation of athletes, fuel the next generation of people, and putting good gasoline. I keep on referring back to my father, but like he's the cornerstone of my food, my life, he's my. And when I was young, we never had fast food, and my dad would always be like, he'd be like, Joey, he goes, you see, you body like a, the nice car. He goes, your body's like a car. He goes, if you go buy a cheaper gasoline, you saving money now, but you're gonna pay so much later. He goes, that's the same with your body. He goes, you put a good gasoline in now. He goes, you spend a little bit more, but the car is gonna last longer. And that's kind of like, the mentality that we kind of, we run with.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I could really appreciate your, his making his accent, because I feel like I'm sitting at my grandparents' house.
It's the best way to present.
And even though like my parents are immigrants as well, but they spoke English, and so they didn't have that type of accent. But my grandparents did, so I appreciate it.
Which is really weird, because my dad, God bless him, he's 86 years old. But he came here when he was 18 years old, and he still hasn't. It's like he's been here, like, like 70 years. It's like how's it? But it's funny.
Maybe
Him
it's
and my
by
mother.
design.
It's amazing. It's unbelievable that accent just stays. It's so funny.
Joey, what's it like? I mean, you've worked since such a young age. Now you're at the helm of hiring, or essentially, the franchisee is. But trouble with hiring staff and finding the right staff. I'm sure you've seen change over the past, call it 20 years or so.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'll tell you, back in the day, I don't want to sound like, when you were an employer, there was a lot more leeway. There was a lot more, I hate to say, I wouldn't say respect, but like, there's kind of like a hierarchy where it was like a little bit fearful, where like, my father was able to be
Control,
like, like,
right.
yeah, my brother, like, yeah, be like, what are you doing? Like, where it's like, and they were like, oh my God. And they would like coil and be like, oh, I'm so sorry. Da, da, da. Where it's now you have to be a little bit more delicate, which is, obviously, listen, we're all humans. And I look at it that way, especially when it comes to my staff and anybody that works. I have utmost respect for anybody that works in this business. But that being said, it's like you kind of have to, you want to run a good business and you kind of want to be, strict, but at the same time, you got to, rub them on the back a little bit more while you're kicking them in the ass. And so, but in a good way, you know what? Because it's all for the common goal. You know what I mean? I always say to the staff, and yes, it is harder to, to get really good people. But when you treat them well, I mean, I have some businesses like Marstown's there for 10 years. I have my first Salad House employee. We actually gave her an award. So we had a salad. It was a salad season summit. It was our first, like, where we gathered all the franchisees and we brought everyone. We had awards for, Stacking Greens was like, franchisees that achieved over $2 million in sales. We had community award, like, that were immersed in the community, and we had Kathy, who was she's the number one employee, the first person I ever hired. She's still there working in Millburn since 2011. Wow. So it's like, when you take care of people and you treat them like family, and you understand and you have that level of respect, because it's so important, because without them, I mean, there's, and I also say to them, without the customer, I mean, it's like this, you got to have this respect, because, without the customer, there's no Salad House. Without the employees, there's not a business, so, it's really one hand washes the other. So that's kind of what we try and do. But, there are some challenges and there are some people, but we really encourage every franchisee and every team member to really have that level of respect and to take care of them. Give them, when it's their birthday, have a little birthday cake, bring it out to them. I mean, when you have a busy lunch, like, give them some Krispy Kreme donuts or hook them up with something. Like, just show them the love, because they are, we go to war every day. Every day we go to war, and showing that love is so important.
There's a lot of options now, for those particular workers. I mean, especially after COVID, we find so many of our clients come to us and say, they all disappeared. Now they're the delivery drivers, the Uber Eats, so they go, well, we don't need to have a boss. They just drive around in their pajamas and drop food off and don't have to deal with anyone. So, it's definitely interesting to see it. And like you said, you were behind the counter at 12, 13 years old, really learning how to work, where, I'd say a lot of kids today, you couldn't get them to work at a pizzeria. I mean, if it wasn't their own, even that is hard.
Oh, yeah. Trust me, I'm dealing with it. I have three.
How old are your kids, Joe?
I have a 16-year-old. Well, they're both 14 right now. It was because they're Irish twins. They're actually 10 and a half months apart, which is like crazy. So essentially she's 15. So it's 16, 15, and 14.
Got it.
All girls?
2 girls and a boy. Okay. My son was my buzzer beater. He was my last. It was my last shot. It was.
I stopped at 2 girls.
Have any employees become franchisee?
Yeah. Well, I mean, Jared. I love talking about his story because Jared is he's like a little brother to me. He's so important. He is one of the most important components of this business. Jared was so I had when I before Salad House, I tried opening. Well, I had a little pizzeria in Hoboken. My best friend and I opened up a pizzeria in Hoboken, and one of the first hires was we were hiring people. We were behind this like pitching this little desk, and Jared comes walking in, and I nudged my partner. I go, "We're hiring him." And just by his smile and his disposition. My partner, he's like from old school Jersey. He goes, "What the fuck? What do you mean? Fucking say a word? What's going on? Why?" Trust me. I go. Something about him. Something about him. He's only 19 years old, right behind the years, and he just walked in, like, "Hey, how you doing, Jared?" So hired him, and he worked. And I kind of thrusted him into like a managerial assistant manager role, and definitely had some growing pains. There was ups and downs, and in Millburn and then I ended up selling that place. But in Millburn, I took him over to Millburn Salad House, and and he was there, and he just learned every component of the business. He got it. He understood the balance of taking care of the customers, taking care of, being a good team member, and and kind of learning from me and some of the things that I did. And we made mistakes, but at the same time, he believed in the vision from day one. He believed when I said to him, I said, Jared, this is the future of fast casual. This healthy eating is going to be something special. I go, just, and there was times where, like, I'm sure, you have people in his ear and people being like, what are you doing? You're behind the counter working at this salad shop, and you're basically Joey's, I hate to say it, but like Joey's bitch, like, being there. But he believes wholeheartedly in it. And Jared, not only did he open up his own, he has his own, one of his locations and invested in others, but Jared's one of the partners of our company too. So he's one of my partners. So
that's awesome.
He's he's one of the stories that's really,
And how many locations did you open first before thinking about franchising?
Just the two.
The two.
Yeah. And then Jerry opened up in Westfield too, which was kind of a testing location too. And then after that, we hit the ground running.
I know you spoke about that, but we see a lot of we have clients or speak to people all the time that are like, all right, I have 2 locations or 4 locations, I want to go franchising. Like, walk us through like that whole process. Was that a very difficult process, or was it just good timing because you brought it, like you mentioned, you brought in some of those other partners that were very key in those other facets that maybe you weren't necessarily an expert in?
Well, it's not easy at all. And I've seen, and I'd like to think I'm a good human being, that I've seen some franchises that were reckless. I wouldn't name names, but there were some people that I know that started brands and they were just selling because it was a good idea, but because the top line was good, but the bottom line and the franchisees were really not making money, and they were like putting their life savings into this, and so I really wanted to be mindful of that, and not thinking it all. Because I'm in this business my entire life, and there's, the people that think that they know it all and want to control it all are the people that are kind of stuck in the mud, and they don't realize like that you need help, you need other eyes, you need another lens, you need to surround yourself with people that are smart. You don't have to necessarily be give up ownership or whatever the case may be, but that you need to assemble people that know how to make a roadmap to what your goal is and how you want to, present, your product and how to make it profitable. So there was a lot that I learned, but I attribute again, the success we had is because of the team and because of the unselfishness of our group. So it's, listen, everybody wants a franchise. Everyone comes to me like, oh, I got this business, I want a franchise, stuff like that. I'm like, your menu's crazy. You got a lot of stuff to do. Like, it's like, or it's like you're not, you're not willing to bring other people on because you think you know it all. You don't know it all. You might know your business and know how to make it successful, but at the same time, there's so many other levels. There's so many different things. There's so many, components to it, from the legal side to the, there's a lot. So get professionals, get people around you, surround yourself with really, some smart people, and allow yourself to take on some criticism. That's what I would suggest, I guess, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, no, because like you said, we see that a lot of people try this whole franchise, or they think like, oh, I have the best idea, and I want to monetize it, right? Because they know, well, hey, it might be an easier way for them to think about making more money and being able to expand their brand faster. But I think, like you said, the top line needs to match the bottom line, and you have people that invest their life savings in these concepts, and as a person that cares, it's a hard decision to make, to go where if you're not confident in the business, how can you expect someone else to do it?
Yeah.
Joey, your kids are young teenagers, so maybe hard to say at the moment, but coming into the business, maybe.
It's a tough question, because
would you want them to? If by choice
if they wanted to, but at the same time, that I'm looking at at our business and why I think that our franchise, is very attractive for people, and the reason why we're gaining a lot of interest. And I think that Salad House, we're only at the beginning of the runway. We have unbelievable financial. Like our average unit volume is $1.7 million. We have repeat customers. Like I said, we have data to show like people come in like, once they come in 2-3 times, they're customers like for like life, like our loyalty program. And so we have like a really strong business model, especially during COVID and just like, not such a great 2024. We were up year over year. And so I look at the business as being so strong. Then I also look at what's happening with AI is somewhat scary to me. It's not scary because I embrace AI. I've been aboard the AI train very early on. I think it's an amazing tool, and I think it's going to help us, but at the same time, it is going to take away a lot of jobs. It's going to take away a lot of opportunity because, it's just getting started. Mm-hmm. So on one hand, I would love, for them to create their own path and to be able to take whatever they love and to go in that direction. But at the same time, I'm a business minded, make smart business decisions, so I look at what I'm doing and what we're doing at Salad House as a safe play. I just recently wrote something on LinkedIn about how, it is the elephant in the room where it's like you talk about AI and taking jobs away and I feel about nothing will ever replace that human contact, being able to serve food. Like you can't do that on a computer.
Right.
And me serving you food and having that interaction, or you going to lunch with the two of you, sit down and talk business or just to shoot the shit, you can't replace that. So, so that's a constant struggle in my mind. Like it's always in my mind. I'm like, should I put them in the business? Should I get them to at least get their feet wet and see what it is? But then again, they see me come home at night. You know what I mean? Like, listen, I'm gonna be honest. It's one of the hardest businesses in the world. Yeah. I mean, the success rate is so minimal, and the stress levels, the margins are slim, and the stress level is, I always joke that like I stay up really late at night because like, like from the hours of like 11 to like 1 or 2 a.m. It's like I'm able to like just no phone, no email, like, and I'm just able to like zone out. I'll play video games. Like I'm like a kid. Like I'll play with my wife. Be like, what the hell are you doing? It's like it's at 1 a.m. and you're playing like Madden or something. I'm like, yeah, my brain is I need that release. Time. Yeah. Because as soon as I open my eyes, it's like the morning. But you're so I don't I don't know.
Hard to say. I know your father was right in the sense of when he said to you, "You're onto something. Come back again." Because Vin's a big technology guy, and I catch up, but he fills me in, and full disclosure, sometimes it gets done for me, but we laugh. But the element of talking and understanding and that is like has just fallen to the wayside. But going back then, and you say come back again. That hospitality, I feel like could be timeless, and maybe these words will come back to bite me, but. In hospitality, I tell my kids all the time, like, I joke with them, and my daughter's turning 15, my son's turning 13, and I go, let me give you a little bit of I'll give you a quick education. I go, if you guys were to go to a restaurant and be a server, let's role play, so then they get like, oh, I go, here, I'll give you the first few words. Go, hi, welcome to Salad House. My name is Mateo. Thanks for coming in today. First time here? Yes or no? And then just go from there. And I'm like, how's that? And they're like, oh, that's pretty good. They're like, why don't you go work in the restaurant? Because if I had more time, I probably would, just to like prove the point. But I hear you. So AI is unbelievable, but it's a blessing and a curse, So I guess time will tell for those in your household. Is your wife involved in the business?
No, not so much.
I guess dealing with
she does. Yeah, she just she has the kids.
Kicking you off mad.
She does. Yeah, exactly. But she's an amazing mother that steers the ship at home, which is, she has her own little business on the side, but she really, she's the rock. She's the
glue. Right?
Yeah, which is really, at times where I have to fill in, it gets very overwhelming. Like it's just like, the schedules.
He'll
And,
send you back to work.
geez, I'm like,
Let me-
what is
let me
going?
get it
Like,
back.
like this is wild. And then sometimes I'll go over the top. Like in the morning, I'll like if she was away for a little while, and I was like, I'm gonna make these guys some banging lunches. All of a sudden, they get like I made like a vodka chicken parm, like I said, and I wrapped that, and all of a sudden the kid's like, oh my god, Dad, it was so good. And she's like, you could do it every day. I'm like,
Don't
what
do
I
it
do?
too good.
Like, what
don't do it too
I go
good.
to my doing.
It's like whenever I do laundry, I don't do it that good.
No, I can't.
Like you mentioned, just technology, going back to that for a minute, how do you navigate like in the stores of like the technology that's available to, do you still have it where someone comes up to someone at the counter and places the order? Do you have like kiosks and on the go orders? Like how do you navigate between that, but trying to maintain that hospitality still?
So we do have kiosks. We have really really nice kiosks when you walk in the store. We also have you have the option to walk up and be able to just order. And our mobile app is amazing. We encourage people to, just because it gives them a little bit more time, like to be able to navigate through the menu and not be so rushed. You know what I mean? I always call it that pizzeria pressure, where like if you call in or something, and it's like, all right, what do you want? All right, yeah. And you're like, oh my fuck. Even though you're ready, you're like, wait,
You feel bad. Like I feel bad sometimes with like, I got to pay with my credit card, and they're like, okay.
I know, yeah. So we make it very easy, and it's to whoever customer's comfortable with. You know what I mean? If they're more comfortable with walking up to the customer, going up to the cashier and talking and getting putting their order in that way, you could do that at Salad House, but you could also go on the kiosk. But we've definitely seen an uptick with the kiosks and the the mobile app and stuff, and we want them to go in that direction because for loyalty purposes and be able to to communicate with our customer base. When we have new offerings, like we're doing a Caesar of the month every month. Like this month, man, we have a Caesar. We've been changing it every month. Like last month was Mexican Caesar, which was delicious. This month we had a Thai Caesar that I wasn't in the testing room, and I'm like, Thai, like what's that Thai flavoring and Caesar dressing? I'm like, I can't believe it is.
People love it.
Dude, it is so good. I had it like twice. It was mind blowing that like the flavor. We were able to make that flavors mix. Yeah. So, So our tech and also we have so much. Like in our tech stack, we're able to identify a lot of. We can make decisions in their menu. We're able to see customers, what they like, what they don't like, how often they come, the pairing, the menu pairings. Whether it's like salads and fries and salads and sweet potato fries or, grilled chicken Caesar, like we're able to see all that, which is so important, for all our franchisees, And again, that speaks to the team, when you buy into a franchise, you buy into Salad House, when you're getting into Salad House, you're buying it for Salad House franchise, you're not getting a rinky dink salad. We are, like, I've been going to a lot of conferences lately. I've been traveling a lot, going and seeing other brands and it's enlightening, but it's also frustrating too, because I go around and I see some of these brands that have like 100, 200 units, and I'm like, their logo's crap and their menu is so weird. It's like we did it. We've been very slow and very smart with our growth. Yeah. But to what I'm saying, but our tech stack rivals brands that have 200 units, 500 units. Like we legitimately have so much to offer our franchisees, and
some of the oldest ones have the worst tech stack that we've seen. We get clients that are like, oh, we're part of 2000 franchise, and our POS software is this off the shelf, like old legacy system that we have to build out these like custom integrations and stuff like that, where I guess being somewhat new also gives you a leg up, because you don't have to carry all this old weight with you.
And converting it.
Some of these legacy, franchise have, which is interesting. What would you say is your most valuable technology that you feel is like has really given you, separation in the industry, or even just on the data side?
Aside from, obviously our Toast POS has been great for us, but one of my favorites is Ovation. Shout out to Zach Oates, my buddy. He started it. His father was a Super Bowl champion, Bart Oates, for the Giants, and he created something that is it's almost a customer survey, where it gives you the opportunity to win a gift card, but it's a text message. So what it does is it gives the customer a text message. So you get an order from Salad House, and you get a text message saying like, you mind doing a quick survey? Quick, like not this long, lengthy, this, you know, just like, you know, how was your food, your experience, blah, blah, and any problems you had. Now, listen, we're a customizable salad company. We're in the restaurant business. We're going to make mistakes no matter what, no matter how we do it. We're going to make mistakes, and people get hangry. So when you get something and you're starving and they mess up your order, you know, there are a lot of people out there that'll go on Yelp and go on Google and write like some nasty reviews just out of a knee jerk, you know, hangry, you know, reaction. Yeah. So what this does is kind of intercepts it. And it basically gives our GMs or whoever's monitoring the Ovation for the individual location where they're able to instantly respond through a text message. So like, Joey, you know, you forgot my dressing. Like, oh my God, okay. I'm gonna send you, you know, a $5 coupon. I apologize. I'm so sorry. Next time it won't happen again. You know, sincerely, Joey. You know, next thing you know, they're like, oh, thank you. Oh, wow, that was really nice of you.
It felt personalized.
And it was just like that. It was like not, you know, put up a Yelp review or a Google review and then wait for somebody to respond or call the restaurant in the middle of the chaos or whatever the case may be. So that's been great for us. And you know, see our Google reviews going up. You know what I mean? And it gives the customer a sense of like importance, which again, like going back to hospitality, going back to, you know, the customers being, you know, the blood that runs through our veins. Like we need our customers to really understand how important they are to us. I mean, and I want to make them happy. That's my job. My job is like I said in the beginning, I want to make them smile through their stomach, and that's what we do. We provide you with a great product, hopefully a good experience. You're filled, you're delicious. You know, you have some delicious and healthy food, and
doing that, like you said, it cuts them off to also give a good review. Rather, you know, most people will go out of their way to give a bad review, but they won't go out of their way to give a good one. Where I've seen some of these newer technologies, like you mentioned with Ovation, you know, since you're getting it, your willingness, since it's so simple, to give a good one, so those good ones outweigh the negative ones too, which I think has definitely helped because.
And it also keeps my employee, you know, our team members kind of. It's kind of like you got surveillance cameras. It's funny when I was on Zach Oates' podcast and I mentioned this and I said to him, I go, you know, it's almost better than a surveillance camera because this is like a microscope on your business. So like when a store, so now at the end of the month we'll get reports and we'll get a chart and we'll see, you know, things that are in the red. So it's like response rate, food quality, cleanliness, So now we're able to address and be able to be like, hey, dude, your store is messing up too much. I mean, and it's just like, it's no coincidence that your sales are going down. I mean, you need to fix this. And it's also good for you to be like, you know, I had a little stint in one of my locations in Morristown, the one I own, one of the original stores where, you know, there was a lot of mistakes in food quality, stuff like that. And like, it was a team meeting, like it was a mandatory team meeting. And it was like, you know, I had to come in and be like, guys, what's going on here? What do I need to do to help you? You know, like, do we need to shuffle? Do we need to bring some more people in? Like, what's the case? You know, so that's another great, you know, something great about Ovation that we've been seeing. So
small testimonial as we're driving here. I was chatting with one of our associates, and she lives in New Jersey, so she's a fan and orders and you know, some of the other families that live also in New Jersey. In particular, I think she's closest to Red Bank, but definitely thrilled and bails her out on either lunches or dinner, you know, depending weekend or during the week. So shout out to you guys. She loves the brand.
Thank you.
So, where do you see the brand going? You're in New Jersey. You're in the state of New York, in Brooklyn. Other states?
Well, yeah, we're in construction in Westchester, in White Plains area. That gentleman has a 2-pack that he's going to develop that first one, and then hopefully move a little bit closer inland. And then we have Staten Island. We have a location in Staten Island. We're going to begin construction soon. We still have some spots in New Jersey that we're developing, but we sold Virginia, territory in Virginia, and Maryland. On Wednesday, I'm going to be going down to Maryland to visit our 2 new franchisees. One has multiple units, one has a single unit, and you know, for now, that's right now. But you know what, I think Salad House is something that can be placed in any suburban market across this country, because it used to just be the coast, like, you know, LA, New York, little bit Miami, Florida, where the people would just eat a little healthier and like kind of be a little bit more conscious what they put in their body. But this is no longer that. I mean, this is the entire country understands that like eating fast food every single day is not good for you. I mean, and the newer, the younger kids understand that, eating healthier, especially when it's like us, we give that balance, we give that balance. So I believe that this, we will be a national brand. I'm like the big visionary. Like I believe that from the beginning. I joke about with my mom because she's an old school Italian lady. When one of the first salads, I chopped it up and I brought it to her and I go, Ma, she goes, what is this? She goes, this will look like a dog of food. Who eats a food like this? Who eats a chopped salad? No, you got to put in the bigger tomato. I'm like, Ma, people like a chopped salad. They like to just be able to pick one forkful and be able to get their thing. So I always bust her chops, but she's one of the greatest human beings. And she is I talk about my father when it comes to business but my mother is the empathy. She is the person, my sister too, my mother and sister are very similar in that regard. Whereas, like you like to think that you're kind of a blend of, of your makeup, your DNA. And my mother gives me that warmth, that love that she shows love through her food. To this day, she's 86 years old and she'll be ready. Like if a 747 crashes and crash lands in front of her house, she'll have food ready for everyone. In 20 minutes, she'll have everybody ready. She'll have everybody fed. And she expresses love through her food. And it's just a wonderful woman. And the compassion comes from her. And my sister too, that's a big part of this business, and it's really important for us to really, I want to, lead with love. I always joke, always say that, like I'm a big hugger. I'm a big, I'm a softie in that regard. Ex-college football player. I'm 6 foot, 230 pounds, but at the same time, I just had to throw that in there because my mother, it was funny how she kind of doubted it in the beginning, but now, I was joking. I'm like, Ma.
In New Jersey?
They live part-time in Springfield, New Jersey. Florida. And then the other time they're in Fort Myers area, Florida. So they're snowbirds. They get down there. Yeah,
nice.
So.
Any coming to Long Island?
We have a group that is interested in expanding, starting in, I think this Manhasset, Syosset area, and then like kind of working their way. He sees a runway from 5 to 10, but he hasn't committed yet. So if anybody, anybody's listening,
guys who might be interested.
Yeah, if we have some people listening, I mean, we definitely have a lot of opportunity because I have a lot of friends out on the island. Like I had mentioned, before we spoke on the cast, I did about 3 times in 5 days. I've been out here. I was in Syosset. It was in Roslyn and in Cold Springs, and now I'm here. I didn't realize you were as far out as you are.
We're a little. Our office is about 20 minutes west.
Yeah. So here on the south.
But definitely Long Island. Long Island's always been, and I've always had so many people. That's the thing about this business too. It's like the amount of people that hit me up on Facebook and Instagram, like, "Oh my God, Joe, you got to come out here," and you got to choose the right partners. You got to choose the right franchise partners because this business is difficult. This isn't like let's turn the key. Like you got to understand, you're buying my mistakes when you're buying a franchise and you're getting into the franchise business, but it is still your business. It is still you. You still have to work the business. You still have to, we talk about our franchisees getting immersed in the community. We're a business that has the mom and pop soul of Cioffi's, that same kind of feel, but has that corporate structure and that consistency across the brand, every location. So, but at the same time, it's like you need to have that. Otherwise, you won't be successful. If you just think you're going to get a salad house, like, oh my God, it's great. Oh, AUV, $1.7 million. Oh, like I'm going to walk in the door. No, you got to work the business and you got to really pay attention to the playbook. I mean, you're buying you're buying our mistakes.
Because in that respect, and there's 3 or 4 other salad franchises that fit that model better.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
That are just ultra corporate, right?
Mm-hmm.
And is that where, like, does that go into researching an area based on like saturation of other competitors or salad centric models? Or
I don't want to come across as, because I'm not again, I don't have an ego, but like we go to toe with some of these brands, these national brands, these brands that are really have taken the limelight as of late. And they literally will open up, like one of them opened up across the street from one of my locations, and it did not disrupt our business flow because we do the staples right. We're not this crazy. We're staying in our lane. We know exactly what we want to do. We don't deviate from that. We have our blinders on. We know exactly who we are. We don't look at what you're doing. I don't look at what you're doing. And frankly, I don't want people to have to Google our ingredients. I mean, you go into some of these places, you're like, what the hell is a Moroccan rub spiced, chickpeas? What the hell is that? In this weird dressing, and like you're trying to process like the flavor profile, whereas like you got a Cobb salad, you know exactly what the dressing is going to be like, what a Caesar salad, what a Fiesta chicken salad or Chipotle dressing. Yeah, we have little nuances here and there, but at the same time, what you're going to get, you know what I mean, and you feel comfortable.
And that's what the customer is looking for.
And that's what the customer and also like I always joke to say like one of my favorite optics when I walk into a salad house is seeing like two like burly like construction looking guys coming in there having a salad and having a plate of fries and maybe sharing a plate of fries, or one having a sandwich, one having a salad, and it's like they would feel uncomfortable, or somebody that maybe is out of shape and is like a little older couple. Actually, you know what, I saw an older couple. Reminds me of a story. I was just in Cincinnati. My son plays competitive basketball like across the country, and we were in Cincinnati, and I saw this place. So we loved it. It was called Clean Eats. It's a franchise in the Midwest, and it's more of a meal prep type, healthier type food. But it is a little intimidating for somebody that's like, doesn't know different things. I went in there and I knew exactly. We created our own bowl. Me and my son, we really loved it. But then I saw an older couple, not that old, like, maybe like 60s, 70s, like 70 years old or something, walking in. And they went in and they were like, oh, and they just whispered to him, and they looked in and they literally they pivoted and they went next door to the burger place. Like, whereas Salad House is so much more like things like you'll look up at the menu, like, oh, I know what that is. I know what sweet, I know what a crazy chicken sandwich is. Like, I know that stuff, and we're not
Sometimes
intimidating.
The name is more intimidating than the ingredients.
Yeah. So that's kind of our. So I'm sorry. I'm very passionate about what we're doing, but we don't look at. We just look at the area. We look at the avatar of the customer that we want to satisfy, and it's the type of people, the type of area. We have our metrics. We know exactly the demo that we need, but at the same time, no, we don't care about.
I think it also kind of makes sense because Northeast franchises tend to stay or originate in the Northeast, when sometimes those other franchises from outside have a really hard time penetrating the Northeast, especially New York and New Jersey, because of that feel. Like, it's always like family, very comfort, making you feel accepted. Where some of these other franchises, it's so like cookie cutter, and they just don't succeed.
Yeah.
So definitely probably has
something
to do it.
Some of the sandwich shops, I'm not going to name names, but there was one that came to our area in Union County, and I'm like, it was like 2 slices. I'm like, what? Who's gonna? First of all,
what would you
why
follow?
It's like pizza, but it's the same thing. You say the same thing about pizza. You go how could anybody order?
Like those
Domino's
create your own pizza places too. They come like, we got the best pizza. What are you doing? Who told you to come into this area? Like, what?
I don't know how those other places stay in business.
I don't get it.
I would never order.
I mean, listen, the Domino's, the Papa John's, those guys. You know what? I think for the late night component of it and like the teenage, that's why they can have staying power in this area. Truthfully, my son, like, he likes the stuffed crust pizza, like that's like a little thing that he gets captured in the TV, and every once in a while I'll give it to him. It's not bad. Yeah. You dip it in that.
Once you get old enough, that stuffed crust will stay stuffed in your stomach for like 2 weeks.
And your arteries too. Yeah. And your arteries.
Joey, on the personal, I mean, we could talk for hours about the business. It's a fascinating story, but what do you like to do? How do you decompress besides playing a video game at 11 o'clock at night? Your family, you travel.
I coach football with my son. I was coaching youth football. That's something that I truly love. Giving back a lot of the stuff that I learned. And like I said, I'm a big proponent of the whole football resembling life, and I just really enjoy spending time with my family. I enjoy messing around with my parents. They're elderly, and I'm embracing this. I know, it's scary to think, but like, they're 86 years old.
Sure.
So
Not
it's
going to live forever.
time is precious now. So I really enjoy spending time, making jokes with them. Like I play little jokes on Instagram with them, and just enjoy spending time with them. But it's really my family that I, no matter what it is, for instance, just yesterday, how you say with busy schedules, stuff like that. And like being Italian, like Sundays is the day you really want to be around. But it's difficult. Like I had a big flag football event yesterday that we sponsored. Phil Sims, ex-Giant, he has the North-South game. So we sponsored the girls flag because empower girl, the movement of girls flag football was amazing. I interviewed, I was just sideline.
How fast that's
It is.
It's like a full. What is it? It's a high school.
Yeah, it's a high school sport now. Yeah, and we did, and I was like a sideline reporter. I was like talking to some of the girls, and I love the fact that these girls were playing. And yesterday was such a great thing that Salad House was on the jumbotron. It was like a really cool event. But to what I was saying, it was that it was a busy day, and I'm busy, and like we're all busy with different things, and so getting that Sunday meal was like very difficult. So like my wife's like, what do you want? I'm like, I want gavadils, I want some chicken cutlets, I want some, like let's make something, but I want the family together. So let's figure out what time it is. And last night, it was a little later than, it's Italians customarily eat, like that late lunch. But, we just sat around the table, threw the phones aside, and we were just laughing and just sharing, like, it's like a lot of the week, the funniest things that happened. And you know what? That's my favorite thing to do. My favorite thing is just be around my family.
Yeah,
it really is. And then I'll take up hobbies. Like once this window of my life, then maybe I'll pick up some golf. Get on the water, like boat or whatever the case may be. But for now, it's family.
Awesome. Such a nice story, really, and continued success to you, your partners, and. Yeah, we certainly hope to see Salad House, closer than further, so we could, come in and enjoy as well. But we'll have to maybe do a road trip and check you
my
out.
Choffies too. Well, hit you with a 1-2 punch. Yeah. Get you first with Choffies, and you feel like you got to use a little lighter, so you go.
Take certainly plenty of food to take home. But,
definitely.
Thank you again. Really an awesome story, and all the best to you guys.
Thank you guys too, man. Continued success with
coming
you,
on.
and I enjoy your show. Like I watched a couple, I watched Uncle Jack's one. It was that was fun, and entertaining, and like you guys are really, and I love that what you're doing, sharing stories because it's important to.
That's really what it. Mike and I say when we thought about it. I guess it's 6 or 7 years ago now. We meet with restaurateurs all the time, and the stories are so much alike but so different, right? I think is the best way to put it. It's like family, working hard, what they've learned and the values that come along with it, and at the end of the day, it's providing the hospitality is always the number one key. So appreciate your story, which was great, and looking forward to many more.
Thank you.
Thanks, Joey.
All right.
Yeah.